prepare your meal. Before you answer, let me tell you about Thomas Reed, because his response will absolutely shatter your heart and change how you see the world forever. Picture this. It's 8:30 on a chilly evening in London, and the city's most exclusive eatery is buzzing with the usual crowd. You know the type. Designer handbags worth more than most people's yearly salary. Conversations about holiday homes in the Cotswolds and wine that costs more per bottle than some folks earn in a month. The sort of place where you need to book 3 months in advance just to get a table by the loose. Now, tucked away in the corner sits Thomas, early 30s, sharp as a tack in his bespoke suit, and rich enough to buy the entire street if he fancied it. But here's the thing. Despite having everything money could possibly buy, the bloke looked absolutely miserable. His phone kept buzzing with work, emails, plates of expensive grub sat untouched in front of him, and honestly, he looked like he'd rather be anywhere else on earth. Meanwhile, just outside those fancy wrought iron gates, a little girl named Isla was trying to stay warm. 7 years old, barefoot, wearing a dress that had seen far better days. Her tiny stomach was growling something fierce, but she'd learned not to make a fuss about being hungry. That's just how life was for her now. She'd been watching people come and go for ages, hoping someone might spare her a leftover chip or half a sandwich, but nobody even glanced her way. It's funny, isn't it? How invisible we can make people when we don't want to see them. Then this waiter came out with a tray of leftover food, heading straight for the bins. Illa's eyes lit up. ... Fresh food, barely touched, just going to waste. She crept forward, quiet as a mouse, but the waiter spotted her straight away. "Oh, get away from there, you little scruff," he barked, waving her off like she was some sort of pest. "Dirty street kids don't belong round here." Poor little Isla jumped back, tears welling up in her eyes. But hunger's a powerful thing, isn't it? Stronger than fear, stronger than shame. And that's when she spotted Thomas through the glass doors, sitting all alone with enough food to feed a small army, just sitting there, getting cold. She took a deep breath, summoned up every bit of courage she had left, and made a decision that would change both their lives forever. Barefoot and trembling, she walked right through those patio doors into the restaurant. Can you imagine the sheer breast naked must have taken for a 7-year-old girl to walk into a place like that? The reaction was instant. Gasps echoed round the dining room. "Good Lord, where did she come from?" whispered one woman, clutching her pearls like they were the crown jewels. "Hasn't security got better things to do?" muttered some bloke at table 6. The head waiter came charging over, his face red with embarrassment. "Right, little miss, you can't be in here. Out you go." But before he could grab her arm, Isla looked straight at Thomas with those big brown eyes and said the words that would echo through that restaurant like a thunderclap. "Excuse me, sir, can I eat with you?" The entire place went dead quiet. You could have heard a pin drop. Thomas looked up from his phone, completely taken aback. Here was this tiny, fragile little thing standing in the middle of all this luxury like she'd just landed from another planet. "Please," she whispered, clutching her torn dress. "I haven't eaten in 2 days." Now, the waiter was having none of it. "Sir, shall I call security? Get this sorted?" But Thomas just stared at her. Those sunken cheeks, those quivering lips, that look of desperate hope mixed with crushing fear. And suddenly, it all came flooding back to him. His own childhood, standing outside bakeries in the rain, stomach twisted with hunger, praying someone, anyone, might show him just a scrap of kindness. But nobody ever had. "Sir," the waiter pressed, "what would you like me to do?" Thomas stood up slowly, his voice cutting through the silence like a blade. "Bring another plate." The waiter blinked. "Sorry, you heard me. The finest meal you've got. And make it snappy." Little Illa's eyes went wide as saucers. "Really?" she whispered. "Really?" Thomas knelt down, so he was at her level. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Isla." "Well, Isla, how about you come and sit with me tonight? You're my guest. The gasps round that restaurant was something to behold. Is he having a laugh? One woman hissed. A millionaire sharing his table with a beggar child. It's disgraceful. But Thomas couldn't care less what they thought. He pulled out the chair next to him and patted the seat gangliectomy on them. Love, have a seat. As Ela climbed into that chair, her little legs barely reaching the floor, Thomas turned to the waiter and bring some warm bread first. Can't you see she's freezing? The waiter shuffled off, red-faced and muttering, whilst Thomas looked round at all those judgmental faces staring at them. Yeah, you're all gulping, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. But maybe you should be asking yourselves why this little girl had to beg for food in the first place. Throat tightened as he watched her take that first bite. For the first time in years, something stirred deep in his chest, a warmth he'd forgotten he was capable of feeling. The restaurant stayed deadly quiet as Ela sat there, clutching her bread like it might disappear at any moment. She stared at it for ages before taking the tiniest bite, as if she couldn't quite believe it was real. When that soft, warm dough hit her tongue, the tears really started flowing. Easy does it, Thomas said gently, sliding a glass of water across the table. There's plenty more where that came from. No need to rush. Round the room, the whispers were getting louder. Is he seriously letting her eat with him? This is absolutely balmy. But Thomas noticed something else, too. That couple over there had gone quiet, looking ashamed. The woman in the corner was dabbing at her eyes. The waiter came back with a plate piled high with roast chicken, buttery mash, and enough vegetables to feed a horse. He plonked it down in front of Ela and stepped back like he'd just delivered a bomb. Tuck in, Thomas said. Eat as much as you like. Nobody's going to stop you. But Ela hesitated, looking up at him with those big good. The silence was deafening. When that warm bread arrived, Ela wrapped her tiny hands round it like it was made of gold. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she whispered, "Thank you, sir. I thought nobody cared anymore." Thomas felt his worried eyes. "Don't you want it?" Thomas shook his head. "I've had my fill. Love, tonight's your turn." As she ate, Thomas found his mind wandering back to those dark days of his own childhood, sleeping rough, scrapping for food, feeling like the whole world had given up on him. He'd sworn never to look back, buried all those memories deep down where they couldn't hurt him anymore. But watching this little girl, he realized something. He hadn't escaped his past at all. He just built walls around it. My mom used to make bread like this, Ela said quietly between bites. Before she went to heaven, Thomas's chest tightened. What about your dad? Her voice cracked like thin ice. He left after Mom died. Said I was too much trouble. Said someone else would look after me. She stared down at her plate, but nobody did. Something broke inside Thomas at those words. He reached across and took her small hand in his. You listen to me, Ela. You are not too much trouble. Not ever. You're a child, and you deserve to be loved and cared for. Round them, the restaurant had gone completely still. Even the stern-faced manager who'd come over to sort out the situation had stopped in his tracks. Thomas looked up, addressing the entire room. She's 7 years old. 7, and she has been wandering these streets alone whilst we've been sitting here stuffing our faces with food we weren't even finished. The silence was crushing. Look at her, he continued, his voice thick with emotion. Do you have any idea how much courage it takes for a child to walk into a place like this and ask for help? How desperate she must have been! A few people shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Some looked away, guilt written all over their faces. Thomas turned back to Ela, speaking so softly only she could hear. You don't have to beg anymore. Not ever again. I'm going to take care of you. Ela's eyes went wide. You mean you're not sending me away? Never, Thomas said, his voice breaking. You're coming home with me. We'll get you some warm clothes, a proper bed, and tomorrow morning, pancakes for breakfast. That's when the floodgates open. Little Ela threw her arms round his waist and sobbed, I'll be good. I promise I'll be so good. Thomas hugged her tight, tears streaming down his own face now. You already are good, sweetheart. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. The sound of someone sniffling broke the silence. That woman in pearls was crying into her napkin. Even the young waiter was struggling to hold back tears. The entire restaurant had been silenced, not by money or power, but by one man's simple act of human decency. Thomas stood up, lifting Isla into his arms. She doesn't just deserve a meal, he announced to the room. She deserves a life. As he carried her towards the door, something incredible happened. One by one, the other diners rose to their feet, not in protest, but in respect. One gentleman even left a 100-pound note on Thomas's table with a scribbled note saying for her future. Later that night, as Thomas drove Isla home in his sleek motor, she curled up in the passenger seat under a warm blanket. Are you really rich? She asked sleepily. Thomas smiled, his heart fuller than it had been in years. I thought I was loved, but tonight I've finally found something worth more than all the money in the world. Little Isla gave him a drowsy smile. You're the nicest person I've ever met. Tears pricked Thomas's eyes as he replied. And you, my dear, are the bravest little girl I've ever known. If this story touched your heart like it touched mine, smash that like button and hit subscribe for more tailies. That L. Restore your faith in humanity. Drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. Doc, we absolutely love hearing from you. Lovely lot. Until next time, keep spreading kindness wherever you go. And remember, Doc, sometimes the smallest acts of compassion create the biggest ripples. Cheers.